Take roll call, please.
Do you want me to list? Supervisors Decker, Kubicki, and Gashke are excused. Supervisor Rodriguez is entering right now. And Supervisor Jeff Gentz.
He just walked in.
Right.
Hit your attendance button, Supervisor Rodriguez.
Oh, he doesn't need to.
Okay.
He's good. We got you,
We'll
Mark.
move on to citizens' comments. Any citizens' comments? Any citizen wishing to speak, step up to the podium. State your name and address. Any citizens? Any citizens? Seeing none, citizens' comments are closed. I have one announcement. I have paperwork in front of me for the Susan B. Anthony Women of Influence Awards Dinner, which is March 11th. That's a Friday night at 5 o'clock. Terry Ruck is receiving an award, and also Jenny Tunkeys is receiving an award, one of ours, and Sabrina Morgan and Carly McNeil. I have a table with 8 seats. I have 6 seats open. Anybody wishing to attend, just come to me after the meeting, get the information, or sign up with Reggie, whatever, however is easier for you to do. If you want more information, just see me after the meeting. Supervisor reports. Supervisor Grady.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was the 10th of this month that the Public Works and Facilities had their monthly meeting. And starting off with the facilities, we have a courthouse washroom remodeling project, which is underway. We have a security system software upgrade, which is underway. And in this building here in which we sit, we're on the 4th and final heat pump replacement phase. And we also have had the ductwork clean up here. If you look at the ceiling, we no longer have the debris that was there previously, so that is one of the things that we've been talking about, and we're pleased to see that done. Also in facilities down here in this downtown campus, we're looking at Molinaro security modifications that have been done. The parking lot, you can see out here to the west, that is mostly done. There's still a few little punch list items to do. I think there's some fencing and so forth to be accomplished there, but that's gone along pretty smoothly. We have bids that will bids are already in, I should say, for the HVAC replacements at the detention center. That will begin the 24th of this month and should end in March. That's one particular phase. At Kemper, we're still working on some little water infiltration repairs, which will be done piecemeal as budget allows over several seasons. The Kenosha County Center renovation project, which we approved in the budget to free up some space and to use some additional areas that aren't being used, is being handled by CUNY Architects. They'll be our lead source for that. In terms of parks, we have a few things that are worthwhile to mention. We have the Kemper Shoreline Revetment, which sadly enough we couldn't get the FEMA original grant, but we're looking at a brick grant, which we may have some help with our state and...
Bill, speak into the mic a little more.
With our state and federal partners, our representatives, we may be able to, hopefully at some point, get the ability to have some type of revetment and repairs done to that shoreline area. Other than that, we're looking at some temporary repairs on Petrifying Spring Park Pavilion number 3 and 5. The multi-use trails that are part of Petrifying Springs and our stewardship with Parkside, those have gone quite well. We have a bridge that's been installed on the eastern part of the property, which makes access a little bit better. Don't have to slog through the mud to access some of these trails, so we're pleased with that. Next, we have our Highways Division report, and we have quite a few things that are wrapping up. As you're well aware, County S, Highway 142 is all done. We're looking at the roundabout on County Y and County Highway H, which is 22nd Avenue and County A. That will be occurring in terms of the bid and planning this year, but not construction until next. The other things that are on here we've talked about before. The JB Bridge deck out in the western part of the county, that will be having its, should we say, remodeling, tearing apart this particular late winter, early spring, and we should be done with that by June of this year. It is still being available to the Western Kenosha County snowmobilers, so those people that want to use that area, that's still available to them, but just for snowmobile traffic only. There's a bridge in the town of Paris, County MB. If you can picture just north of 60th Street on MB, it's almost kind of like a little culvert type thing. That's going to be replaced, and we've got the low bidder situated for that. Anything else for parks? No, I don't think so. We're going to move on to, or for highways. I want to talk about something that will be before you this evening, and that is when we did County Highway S, 142 Burlington Road, whatever your preference is describing it. We have some orphan parcels that were a part of that road bed realignment. And most of them have very little, if any, use, except to maybe a contiguous landowner. There are one or two marketable parcels, which we'll delve into in the resolution this evening, but it's one of these kind of housekeeping things. We take care of it on the front side rather than having to deal with it piecemeal at a later date. Take a look at all the parcels we have, deal with it at once, and probably a more efficient way of doing it. Last but not least, we're going to get to golf division. It's been a very good year for golf. There were quite a few numbers of rounds played, even in December. As you may remember, just before Christmas, the weather was fair, and added revenue, and overall a very good season. In the winter, golf is usually slow. There's not a lot going on. But this year, they've added a second golf simulator out at Petrifying Springs. It is booked to the extent that people have kind of signed up for tee times or leagues to the extent that 33%, 1/3 of the available times are already spoken for in advance. So it's kind of an interesting thing that you have carryover now from the fall time to the winter time, and people are still making use of the facility. We're still doing some business out there, so it's kind of a happy thing. I could go on for quite a bit of additional comments here, but I think I will leave it at that, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Any other supervisor reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to county executive appointments.
County Executive Appointment 54, M.A. Olatoya Bayou to serve on the Kenosha County Board of Health.
Refer to Human Services Committee, please.
55, Eula Payne Williams to serve on the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services.
Refer to Human Services Committee.
56, Nathan Thiel to serve on the Kenosha County Local Emergency Planning Committee.
Refer to Judiciary and Law Committee.
Appointments, Joshua Nielsen to serve as the Director of Kenosha Joint Services.
Refer to Judiciary and Law.
Old Business, Ordinance 16, second reading to required from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, an ordinance amending the text of the Kenosha County General Zoning and Shoreland Floodplain Zoning Ordinance. The proposed text change will modify existing section in accordance with statute to acknowledge the Bong Recreation Area 8 dam failure analysis. Passed unanimously at the Planning, Development, Extension Education Committee. Supervisors Gashke, Mauer, Beth, and Rodriguez voting aye. Supervisor Nudo excused.
Supervisor Mauer on the motion. Hold on a second. Hold on. Go ahead.
Move ordinance 16.
Moved by Supervisor Mauer, second by Supervisor Beth. Supervisor Mauer.
This ordinance 16 is a revision of the Kenosha County zoning ordinance. This dam failure inundation study is similar to the dam failure inundation already adopted for the water body, an associated dam located at Kenosha County Veterans Memorial Park in the town of Randall. Adoption of this text amendment will allow the Kenosha County Division of Planning and Development to implement zoning regulations downstream of said dam in a manner that will protect life and property in the event of a dam failure of the infrastructure. We on the Planning and Development and Extension Committee revised this item at our meeting on December 8th, and we recommend the approval of this resolution.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye? Aye. Any nays? Motion carried.
New business resolution, one reading. 91 from the Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution for the approval of the 2022 expenditures of American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds for long-term seasonal bonuses. Passed unanimously by the Finance and Administration Committee, Supervisors Ron Frederick, Franco, Kubicki, Wambold, and Uhas voting aye. Supervisor Gentz excused.
Supervisor Frederick. Been moved by Supervisor Frederick, second by Supervisor Franco. Supervisor Frederick.
This resolution uses the AERPA funds to pay long-term seasonal bonuses. Oh, gotta relax. Because they were terminated prior to the cutoff because the golf course closed. Bonuses for $750 each. This will affect sorry? What's your problem? This will affect 38 employees. The cost will not exceed $35,000. Long-term seasonal employees work 7 to 9 months of the year. A large percentage is 70 to 90% return after each year. The committee recommends the approval. Any questions?
Okay, some discussion. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, start over now. I'm going to clear the board here and start. Supervisor Nordigan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. On the fourth whereas, I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth whereas, my mistake. It says, whereas these American Rescue Plan funds can be expended from March 3rd, 2021 to December 31st, 2024. According to the Wisconsin Counties Association, they can be expended from March 3rd, 2021 to December 31st, 2026. They have to be identified or obliged by December 31st, 2024, but we have to December 31st, 2026 to spend it. I just wanted to make that note based on the Wisconsin County Association. That's what they had brought up, so.
Supervisor Rodriguez.
I guess first, I just, through the chair to whoever can answer that, or just before I get to what I was going to say, through the chair to whoever can answer, I'm not sure if Corp Counsel can address it best. Are we going to address that the resolution is wrong?
Do we have to have an amendment on that? No. Here. Where's this thing here? Where is it? It's gone. Your mic's. Use. It's gone.
I certainly would defer to Patty Merrill in terms of the question of the correctness, quote unquote, of the language. But if it is the will of the body to change 2024 to 2026, certainly that can be done either by making a formal motion to amend it, or alternatively to ask that it be changed to 2024 without objection, and if there's no objection, that has the same effect as taking a vote on a moved and seconded amendment.
In this particular instance, these funds are being expended and would be expended within that period of time. We're not obligating them to be expended after that period of time. So I think the wording in the resolution is sufficient for the cause.
Okay. I'm not going to be voting in support of this tonight for a few reasons. First and foremost, I think there are certain benefits that you forego as a seasonal employee. I think this is not to say that some of these employees aren't great employees and that we aren't lucky to have them. But my fear is if we approve this tonight, we've already heard from several retirees that they retired just prior to when these bonuses were given out. And I think it's common practice, I know it's common practice, that in the private sector, when you retire, you don't get to then go back to your employer and say, well, I used to work for you, now I'd like my end of the year bonus. People purposely plan their retirements around things like that. Now, going back to seasonal employees, that's something that you need to understand when you take an employment offer, is that there are perks and benefits, whether it's insurance, bonuses, what have you, that go with full-time employment, full-time permanent employment. With that, I'd like to talk about Senior Deputy Court Clerk Vicki Sarzant. She's a constituent of mine. Vicki has worked for Kenosha County for nearly 17 years. 14 years of those was as a correctional officer, and 3 of those years has been over across the street at the courthouse. Vicki, as a senior deputy court clerk, like I said, she has been reporting to work every single day since the beginning of COVID. She was once placed on quarantine due to a coworker testing positive, and she was then told by HR she needed to quarantine as well. She got a $1,200 bonus this year when her colleagues with the same job title got the $2,400 bonus. One colleague in particular has worked now for the county just over a year. And it bewilders me that we have such an issue with retainment with our employees. And we look at Vicki and we say, you're only worth $1,200. You've been here nearly 20 years. Somebody who's brand new, relatively speaking, gets double that bonus. Vicki saw this. She talked with her coworkers. Her coworkers alike thought something's astray. Something's got screwed up here. An innocent mistake, perhaps. When Vicki reached out to her immediate boss, no answers were given. When Vicki reached out to Becky, our clerk of circuit court, no answers were given. Our clerk of circuit court then reached out to HR and was told the criteria wasn't met. Vicki was then told by multiple of her seniors, reach out to HR. She did. She waited for weeks on end before she heard a response, to which she was told simply, you did not meet the requirements as set forth by the Finance Committee. And she asked, what are those requirements? And to date, none of those have been given to her. After not hearing from HR staff and her superiors as to why she did not receive this bonus, she reached out to the Finance Committee, every single member who serves on that committee. To date, she has not received a response. She thought, I'm going to give the finance chair and the finance vice chair a second chance. I'm going to send them a second email. To date, she has not received a response. She does the same job as her coworkers, but she's not rewarded the same with her bonus. How do we then tell our seasonal employees, who again we're grateful for, how do we look at Vicki and say, Vicki, thank you for 20 years of service to Kenosha County. Thank you for coming to work every single day during COVID when the courthouse was closed to the public, but open for you and your colleagues. Thank you for continuing to come to work, interact with the public, set up payment plans with the public. She told me this afternoon that the other day when she was in, a gentleman came in coughing. and said, well, I hope nobody kicks me out. He was there to pay a ticket. And he volunteered to her, I'm COVID positive, but I got to pay my ticket. Now, I think it goes without saying, if you're COVID positive, stay home. But we have employees like Vicky who put up with behavior like this with a smile on her face for 17 years. And when she asked numerous people, elected officials, bosses, nobody can give an answer to her. Now, I reached out to HR, and I was told the same thing. She did not meet the requirement. To date, I'm not told what requirement she doesn't meet. So tonight, we're going to spend $35,000 on additional bonuses, but we're going to continue to ignore Vicky. And I don't say this is the case that I've come to know quite intimately because she's my constituent, but I'd say this for any of our other current employees. But tonight, we're addressing former employees, which I am afraid will then lead to other former employees who have retired or quit. Where does it end? I think we're setting a dangerous precedent when we have not even taken care of our current employees. And why the runaround? And I was told that she is kind of disgruntled about the bonus. And we knew this when we passed this. Not everybody was going to be happy. You can't make everybody happy, right? But it bewilders me, like I said, that we can have an employee who's been here for nearly 2 decades receive half the bonus of a brand new employee. And speaking with Becky tonight, I asked her what her views were, and she said, well, it's not my decision. So I'd like to know who HR sent the list to. We were told that HR was going to send a list to each department head and say, you need to classify your employees and where they fit in here. She said she didn't make that decision. And then she said Vicky was filling in for another employee, and I won't say the other employee's name, just out of privacy. Vicky's given me permission to use her name. Vicky's colleague has been out on maternity leave since the beginning of November. Our court clerk told me tonight that she believes that if Vicky had been taking over the duties of her colleague, that she definitely deserves that bonus. And she said she knows she has taken over those duties, and her question was when that colleague went out on maternity leave. And she said if it's prior to when the bonuses were paid, she believes that Vicky should get that bonus. Well, speaking with Vicky, I followed up with Vicky, that was over a month prior to the bonus pay. So I'm not going to support this. I would encourage my colleagues not to support this tonight, and it's nothing against those seasonal employees, but we have a problem with retention. We've talked about it pretty much the last 2 years because of COVID. Our employees are leaving us. Somebody like this who has a lot of knowledge, we spent a lot of money training this individual. This doesn't say thank you to her. This says take what you got, don't complain, even though your colleagues who sit right next to you every single day got more. Thank you.
Supervisor Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we ought to address this problem and amend the resolution to include this particular employee at the higher rate as I think the committee or the board here is authorized to do, and I would so move.
Moved and seconded. Anybody want to talk on the? I'm going to start the board over. Okay. Supervisor Noodle.
I'm going to vote against this. I was against the first round of bonuses that were given. I think the ARPA money was designed to help people in really need, and it could be used for better stuff. So I'm against these bonuses, and I'm going to vote against it.
Anybody else?
No, that's it.
Supervisor Grady.
When this issue first surfaced in terms of some degree of inequity with the ARPA funds, long-term seasonals and so forth, I made the comment on this board floor that if we're going to revisit this, it should be revisited in some type of comprehensive manner where we don't have to act upon each particular individual, each individual group that comes forward. we'd like to be able to do something, and I would think through committee, that would address this so we're not parsing it out on the county board floor. And I have nothing against the long-term seasonals, and I have nothing against the individual that Supervisor Rodriguez met. But do we have any type of idea that this will be the end of it, or do we still have things waiting in the wings which are going to go back to be discussed here? So that's my comment, but my question is to the members, to the chair, to the co-chair of Finance Administration, have we had discussions in committee that takes into account these various, shall we say, possibilities or alternatives in terms of us having to act again as a legislative body? And until we have this, I think, more thoroughly satisfied and vetted, I'm not comfortable just parsing it out and doing it ad hoc in a piecemeal manner. That's my comment. And I'd like the question answered to what extent this has been vetted in committee. Thank you.
Supervisor Gully?
Supervisor Grady stole my question. I'm good.
Supervisor Rose? Did you have?
There are others who have been overlooked, and I was going to make another amendment after this either passes or fails to address the problem of Kenosha County employees who have retired in good standing from county employment during 2021 upon the same terms and schedule as previously approved by the board. That, I think, was an oversight when the original proposition was brought before the board. It was brought to my attention by one of the retired judicial clerks who has worked in the county for many years and happened to retire in 2021. There are a handful of people that fall in that category. So I think that there are some categories that should be addressed. They were oversights. And I would therefore suggest that we, and I would so move, send this issue back to the committee to address the problem in the principal resolution, as well as the proposition that Mr. Rodriguez mentions, as well as the 2021 retirees on the same terms and schedule as previously approved by the board. I think these are oversights. I don't know that the person who worked for as
Supervisor Rose, you need to talk about the amendment.
I am. I move to refer this all back to the committee.
Is this a new amendment now?
No, there is one amendment on the floor that is Supervisor Rodriguez's proposition that I put into a motion. I'm suggesting, in response to what Supervisor Grady said, that the committee ought to address a more comprehensive issue of who we have overlooked, and my motion was to refer all of that issue back to the committee, which I believe to be proper.
Okay. On this new amendment, new motion, Supervisor Berg?
I was going to speak on a previous amendment, but on this amendment, I'm going to agree. We should not be we have committees for a reason. And the committee should be taking this on, not sitting here talking about it on a board floor when we don't have any details. So absolutely, I'm going to support the current amendment of sending all of the additional stuff, additional positions back to committee, but moving forward with the current resolution.
Supervisor Frederick?
We have a motion now to refer the whole thing back to our committee, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now Supervisor Berg suggested that we do this and then refer the rest of it back. What does it stop? I mean, do we get all county board supervisors and say, who have you got a complaint from? So we can figure out who we should give some more money to? I mean, some of the supervisors tonight said they wouldn't have voted for the thing to begin with, the original. So I don't know where you stop. If you keep saying, well, somebody didn't get 1,400, they only got 1,200 instead of 2,400. How many more of those are there that are complaining? I don't know where this stops. So you can refer it back if you want to refer it back, refer the whole thing back, but where we go from here, I haven't got a clue. Because I don't know who didn't get what. I mean, I've heard Supervisor Rodriguez, maybe there is a point there. I don't know. Maybe there's a couple other ones. Supervisor Noodle said he wouldn't vote for it even if it the original one. We need 3/4 vote to get this done. If you want to send it back, but I can't tell you where we're going to go from there as far as a committee. And that's all I got to say.
Supervisor Franco?
Yeah, I mean, I understand the arguments that are being presented, and I concur. I'm sure there might be several people, and maybe more than several people, who felt like they weren't treated equitably in terms of compensation, bonus compensation. On the other hand, none of these issues were brought up in committee, and here we are bringing up exceptions, legitimate or otherwise, on the board floor. And we all know how that often, how that often goes when you last minute bring up all these objections, so-and-so. I mean, again, they may be legitimate. I mean, we could, if it gets referred back to committee, I'll be happy to consider some of these objections or concerns by people who weren't compensated or felt like they weren't compensated justly, whatever the case may be. But to a certain degree, I agree with Supervisor Frederick. Where does this end? We could, again, be coming up with one after the other. None of this was brought up in committee. Supervisor Rodriguez did not mention this in committee. Would have helped. We might have been able to talk about it. Bringing it up on the board floor last minute is, I guess better late than never. But on the other hand, it passed unanimously in committee. Supervisor Gens, unfortunately, wasn't present. He's not present here, the chairman, to address any of these concerns. Supervisor Kubicki's not here either. So I can't support it just because of the way this is going down process-wise, procedurally. If it does get voted to go back to committee, I will certainly consider any exceptions. But please, present these things in committee when we can discuss them and when we have information. We don't have the information in front of us to consider this. And I'm not going to vote for referring it back. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with the sentiment, to some point, the sentiment of some of my colleagues that our work should be done in committee. It's 100% correct. Let's hash out most of this in committee. But inherently, the way this county board operates, same way the State House or Congress operates, so you can't get everything in committee. And sometimes things fall through the cracks. And that's why it's designed this way, so that I can represent all the people in my district. Supervisor Belsky can represent all the people in her district, because we're not assigned to all these committees. And we're not expected by our constituents to attend every single committee meeting. And we don't expect that of each other either. So to say, we've hashed this out long enough, we're done, I'm not going to vote to send it back, is simply ignoring the problems. It's telling employees like Vicki that, you didn't get the way you wanted, maybe, sounds like the way you should have got it, but you're just one out of many. Insignificant. And she's not. She's shown that to us for 17 years. This, at the very least, should be sent back to committee. And speaking with the court clerk today, she said there should be some sort of process to appeal these. Because she was sure, like I think we're all sure, that there's others like Vicki out there. This was rushed. We wanted to do this by the end of the year, and now here we are with issues. We should have known that. This was going to happen. Let's try to rectify these issues so employees like Vicki don't leave. Thank you.
Supervisor Grady?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will support this going back to Finance Administration Committee, because I don't think what's happened in that committee, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, we should have our Director of HR, Human Resources, be there in the same room at the same time go through, do the due diligence, look at all the particular scenarios that need to be address it at once, and then bring back a more, shall we say, comprehensive recommendation to this county board. That's my recommendation. That's why I'll be voting for the referral back to committee. Thank you.
Supervisor Nudo?
Part of my question, actually, Supervisor Rodriguez asked, but I was going to ask, is Supervisor Rodriguez on finance? On the finance committee? I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything.
You're asking me?
Yeah, whoever knows, Supervisor Rodriguez, to my knowledge, Supervisor Rodriguez, for my knowledge, is not on the finance committee. And when they say that issue were brought up at the finance committee, I mean, that's a joke. Maybe the finance committee should have asked those questions. And if they expect, or we expect, every supervisor to be in every single committee, then maybe we should eliminate all the committees and have the meetings here in the board floor where everybody's present. There's a reason why we have committees. If they're not doing their job, maybe they should move it to a different committee. Thank you.
Supervisor Rose?
I think the issue of referring back to committee is really one of fairness. It's clear we didn't talk about long-term seasonal staff. It's clear we didn't talk about the 2021 retirees who were in good standing. And then now Supervisor Rodriguez brings a third category back. Those who should have been in a different category, at least that's their belief. I'm not taking, maybe they are, maybe they're not. But it's clear that there are some people here that have been overlooked, and all the motion says is, let's send this back to committee in fairness so that these other people can be heard and the decision made as to whether or not these were oversights or intentional. And if they were intentional, is it good public policy to exclude 2021 retirees, to exclude long-term seasonal employees, or to have a particular employee who Supervisor Rodriguez says is a very good employee who should have been categorized differently. Those are issues that the committee needs to address, has not addressed, and it's a matter of fairness to address it now, refer it back now.
No other discussion? Supervisor Franco, did you have discussion?
Go ahead,
He's first.
go ahead, let Supervisor Frederick
All right.
talk.
What we did was address what was before us. This was referred by, Sheriff talked about it, okay? And Supervisor Rose talked about it. And we addressed what you said. These were seasonal employees. Now look, 70 to 90% of these people are going to come back. I'm not sure we're going to come to any resolve to do anything if we refer this back. I say that because it's going to get so confusing, we're not even going to know. Everybody's going to be coming out of the woodwork. Well, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. Can't we just take care of these 38 people and then instruct us to do the due diligence on what's left and then bring those forward? Otherwise, we're going to leave these people sitting and we're going to just confuse it some more. So I would hope that you would not refer it back and that we could finish this up and get this through, and then these other issues that are there, we can talk about them. I will not refer it back. If you refer it back, obviously, but I don't think if you refer it back, there's going to be any time to get it back. Because everybody's going to be coming out saying, I didn't get this, like I said earlier, I didn't get that, I didn't get my 12, somebody got 1,200, 400, I got 12. These are seasonal employees we need. There's 38 of them. Can't we take care of this now and then refer the other thing back? We can instruct the finance committee to look into these issues, as Supervisor Rodriguez had. I'm not going to vote for a referral.
Supervisor Franco?
Yeah, I agree with Supervisor Frederick. The fact that we're dealing with these 38 employees doesn't preclude reconsidering the individuals that Supervisor Rodriguez and others have mentioned, Supervisor Rose. This is not an either-or situation. We can move this resolution and vote on this resolution tonight, and then consider some of the other things that were mentioned, legitimately, I'm sure, in committee again. I don't see why that can't be done. Is this, I mean, I don't think Clara Tappa's here. I don't know, Patty Merrill's here. I see her back there. But I don't see why that can't be done. That way, everyone is happy. We deal with this right now because Supervisor Frederick was absolutely correct. That's all we had in front of us. We were just reading the language of the text. And the individuals that were on there, we did actually get into a discussion about short-term seasonal employees and whether they should be included. And we had decided to not deal with that at this moment. But I don't see this as an end of the situation. Let's pass this and get these people the bonuses that they deserve, and then we can come back and reconsider it, the other individuals who maybe slipped through the cracks. I don't have a problem with that. But let's get this thing passed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Rose?
Yes, on January 4th, I submitted to the chairman and to the Finance Committee a resolution approving bonuses for employees who retired in 2021. I sent a copy of it to all of the board members. It wasn't addressed by the Finance Committee, so I think the only way we're going to get them to address all of the issues that I brought here this evening for the 2021 retirees, and Supervisor Rodriguez brought another issue to the board, is that we refer the entire issue back, because I am not confident that we will do anything or consider anything, because that resolution that I submitted was ignored. So the only way we can get the attention of the committee is to deal with all the issues, vote them up or down in committee, and take it from there. So again, I think good practice here, refer the whole issue back. I'm afraid these were oversights in the first place. This is the time that we can address those oversights in a comprehensive fashion. Apparently, the committee did not want to do that when I submitted the resolution proposing that the 2021 retirees be addressed. So this, I think, is the appropriate thing to do, put all of the issues in front of the committee. The committee, the resolution that I presented deals with people who have worked here many years, not as seasonal people, but as career employees, and have done a good job. And I think they frankly take priority if we're going to consider seasonal employees ahead of retirees who retired in good standing in 2021. I don't think that's good public policy. We don't need to debate that this evening, but the motion to refer back is a considerate, fair attempt to address the entire issue comprehensively. State legislators do this all of the time. Federal government, Congress does this all the time with budget reconciliation legislation. That's what we're doing here this evening. So I urge you to support the issue, to refer it back to committee, and we'll take up the whole issue next time.
Supervisor Burke?
Yeah, so apparently I misunderstood the amendment. I thought the amendment was we're sending the extra stuff back to committee. So I will not be supporting this amendment because we do need to move this forward. We've got till 2024 to spend it, right? So if in 2023 we find somebody fell through the cracks, address it at that point, you know. But to push everything back, no, I'm not going to support that. I'm going to support the original resolution.
See no other discussion? This is what I'm sending it back.
Motion passes. 10 yes, 8 no, and 1 did not vote. What's that mean? Oh, sorry, excuse me. That's, the motion passes 18, or 10 to 8. So it goes back to committee.
Pass.
Yes, passes.
Send back, okay.
All right, am I on to the next one? Right, Resolution 90, so the motion passes to send it back to committee. Resolution 92 from the Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution to approve the reappointment of D. Noel Shear to the Kenosha County Library System Board. Passed unanimously by the Finance and Administration Committee, Supervisors Ron Frederick, Franco, Kubicki, Wamble, and Uhas voting aye. Supervisor Gantz excused.
Supervisor Frederick,
Move to approve the resolution.
been moved by Supervisor Frederick, seconded by Supervisor Wamble. Supervisor Frederick.
This is a reappointment to the committee. The person has attended 14 out of 15 meetings. The other one was excused, and the committee recommends you approve it. Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carried. One nay.
Resolution 93 from Public Works and Facilities and Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution authorizing the disposition of 12 remnant real estate parcels associated with the County Trunk Highway S expansion project. Passed unanimously at Public Works and Facilities and Finance Administration Committees, with Public Works Supervisor Grady, Frankel, Belsky, Berg, and Palmaville voting aye. Supervisors Rodriguez and Nudo excused. From the Finance Administration, Supervisors Ron Frederick, Franco, Kubicki, Wamble, and Uhas voting aye. Supervisor Gantz excused.
Supervisor Grady.
Move resolution number 93.
Been moved by Supervisor Grady, second by Supervisor Ron Frederick. Supervisor Grady on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is what was discussed earlier. These are the parcels located adjacent to State Road, Highway 142, County S. And out of the 12, there are 2 possible parcels which could have some potential market value. So what we're asking this evening is the ability to basically tie these all up in a package, make them available to people who would like to potentially purchase them, add on to their land holdings, and we ask your resolution or ask your approval this evening. Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Carried, thank you.
Communications 10, communications from Andy M. Bueller regarding future items scheduled before the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee.
Receive and file.
Claims 22, Dalton Fisher, personal property loss.
Refer to Corporation Council.
23, Alice Van Kamen, personal property loss.
Refer to Corporation Council.
24, Andrew Rouse, vehicle damage.
Refer to Corporation Council.
The approval of the January 4th, 2022 minutes by Supervisor Nordigan.
Supervisor Nordigan. Moved by Supervisor Nordigan. Who's second?
Supervisor Rodriguez.
Okay. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, aye.
Nice loud voice for that one, laddie.